The Raining Man Diary. On a hike in Switzerland, I discovered the following text out of a notebook. The area in which I found it was technically off limits, since there are some satellite dishes and weather stations nearby, but I like to push my limits. Between some granite, I found the weathered pages of a journal, or a paper book of sorts. Rain and sunlight have destroyed most of it, but the text in the back was still readable. It's impossible to paraphrase what was written in there. It's been a week since I read through it, and I still catch myself mindlessly staring. I just can't help but wonder. In German, we say, so I thought best to translate it. Thursday, 13th of February, 2023. Today on my routine walk, intended to secure the hiking trail at Dernberger Spitz, I made a horrifying discovery. I used the word horrifying because it was an unexpectedly brutal incident. As usual, I followed the path to the peak, already having half a bag full of collected trash. Then I started my way back. Just before reaching my house, I decided to check the footpath I despise, which over the years has become deeply trodden. Among some trees, I saw him. A young man sat with his back to me in the clearing. His spine was oddly twisted to the right, in an angle that seemed humanly impossible. Naturally, he did not respond when I spoke to him. Upon closer inspection, it seemed he was frozen. He was dead. I realized this when I walked around him. Blood had streamed from all the openings in his face. Since blood coagulates relatively quickly, I couldn't determine how long he had been there. He wasn't really sitting, his legs were folded beneath him, splayed out like overcooked spaghetti under his rear. His arms hung limply. During my time in the surgery department in Zurich, I saw a lot of blood and quite a few dead bodies. But never in this form, and never in my familiar home environment. The police kept me at their station for a long time today, because the case was shocking and new for them too. After all, it's not every day you encounter a corpse here in the countryside, especially at such a high altitude. It is now very late, and I will go to sleep. As a best ager, which I still consider myself to be, now that I have time and money. One needs one sleep. Friday, 14th of February, 2023. I dreamt of the man. In my dream, he was a living corpse, dragging himself toward me with his thin arms, his useless legs following him like dead tentacles. I could use some fresh air. Today I would like to bake the cake I will bring to my mother at her nursing home on Monday. I will test if I have the makings of a baker. I took my notebook on my walk to jot down any thoughts. It turned out to be a good idea. I could hardly believe what my eyes saw. At around 3 p.m., I saw a dark spot falling from the sky out of the corner of my eye. It fell straight from the clouds and crashed into the spruce forest to the right of my house. I immediately thought of the sitting man from yesterday, and I was right. In the middle of the spruce forest, roughly where I estimated the object to have fallen, a woman was hanging between the trees. Clearly dead. Her spine was severed. The broken trees and branches above her tell the story. She seemed to have fallen from the sky and onto the earth. Now I stand here, wondering what to do. Since I have no way to prove what I saw, I will call the police from my house phone and describe my find to them. I hope I won't be declared insane, as the situation is truly bizarre. It's best not to overthink it until the matter is resolved. I am not a man of panic, and do not believe in rash decisions and overreactions. But I am beginning to feel uneasy. Just before reaching my house, I heard a flapping sound very close by. It sounded like the wing beat of a mighty eagle, only much louder. Air displacement is the key word. More unesthetically, I saw a body hit my car with full force. My first thought was about the car. Total loss doesn't even cover it. Upon closer inspection, the hood of my Mercedes was a mix of blood, organ remnants, and engine parts, making any repair attempt impossible. I urgently need to call the police. The line is dead. Nothing works. My only salvation, my car, is wrecked. I must keep a cool head. Anything else is the quickest path to personal disaster. I will have to come up with a plan. Monday, 17th of February, 2023. It has been raining people continuously now for 3 days. They do not scream as they fall. I have locked all the windows of the house and drawn the curtains. Shortly after it started, I tried to make one last call, but I could no longer reach my mother. Afterward, I spent hours resignedly watching bodies fall from the grey clouds. The whole driveway to the house is covered with body parts, about 3 to 4 people. And of course, there is blood everywhere. It smells oddly metallic. I can no longer see out of the lower floor windows. They are so smeared. Bodies are scattered across the cow pastures to the right and left of the property. Once I took binoculars and looked at their faces. They look like ordinary people. Some have big noses or small ears. They are all humans. I worry that my roof might collapse under the weight. I constantly hear cracking in the attic, and then the sound of bodies sliding off. I am kept awake at night by the crashing sounds. By candlelight, I try to read a book to calm myself. Oh yes, the power is out. I believe the power outage is widespread, maybe across all of Switzerland or even Europe, or the entire world. Imagine thousands of main lines covered with bodies. The corpses must smolder and glow from the electricity continuously pumped through them. It must smell awful. Fewer bodies are falling now, but surely more will come. I have been disappointed several times. My car is out of the question. With the driveway blocked, the roads will be impassable anyway. It's getting dark, and I'm running out of candles. I will continue riding tomorrow. Tuesday, 18th of February 2023. I did not sleep much again. The night was very windy, and a large man, perhaps in his late 60s, fell into my conservatory. He is the first I've come so close to. I hadn't touched the sitting man in the clearing, or the others, always keeping a distance. Until now, I'd never seen all the organs of another person, let alone my own. Now I have that experience, though unwanted. The man had a very red face, and one leg was caught in the broken window. I did not look at him long, and then removed him because I did not want to deal with the rats and maggots that would likely come soon. I patched the window with an old sweater and some tape. Maybe it's just a matter of time and patience before this storm stops. Then I would contact my insurance. Some things should get covered by them. Meanwhile, I spend my time forming theories that could explain this rare phenomenon. I once read that it rained meat in America. One expert opinion was that there is a belt of meat near the sun that got too close to Earth that day, explaining the meat rain. I don't know if I can believe that explanation. After all, meat is different from meat. There it was analyzed by local researchers to be beef. Here it appears to be human flesh, human organs, and human blood. Plus the source of these things is provided. I list my theories in bullet points. Theory 1. Switzerland is in the middle of a widespread Russian attack. Recently, tensions and rocket attacks on major medical sites in Ukraine led to an escalation of the conflict. This resulted in the use of bioweapons by Russia. Comment. Not entirely unthinkable, but there are some gaps. For example, how does one find enough bodies to use as bioweapons, but then not have enough soldiers to invade? The scales here are too large. Theory 2. Elsewhere in the world, there has been an alien attack that ended with many dead people. These people were loaded onto the invader's ship, possibly killed there, and then unloaded here. Comment. The plausibility of this theory is almost zero, especially since the existence of higher life forms is out of the question. Any radio waves or other long wavelength radiation would have been enough of a signal to inform Earth's inhabitants of the existence of other intelligent life forms. Not much else comes to mind. I have to rethink the theories and take different perspectives. I will try to sleep on it. It is the middle of the night, and something is keeping me awake. My body wants to go to sleep. It is exhausted and weak, but my brain is awake. It's as if an invisible hand is holding my eyelids open. I want to sleep with all my might to finally rest. I imagine, no, I hear the thuds and squeaks and slides and pops outside. How their body sacks burst, and it rains organs with a splat. How spines and skulls crack the brittle branches of a dead tree. How they hit the ground with a thud and lay there, arms and legs twisted at grotesque angles. Wednesday, 19th of February, 2023. It is light outside again. I must have found some solace in my manic writing. At any rate, I fell asleep. It is early morning, and a look out of the window reveals that more bodies must have fallen during the night than usual. The cow pasture is increasingly covered with fresh blood. The sky is grey and restless. Occasionally, I see blue-violet lightning high up in the cloud towers. I am determined to go outside today. I must keep an eye, better both eyes, on the sky. Being struck by a falling body would certainly not be a pleasant death. It is late afternoon according to my watch. My battery-operated wristwatch still shows the time, but it is only a matter of time before it stops working. How ironic. More importantly, I made a significant discovery today. I managed to drag one of the corpses from a driveway, past my red car, into the garage. I selected a young man for examination. My initial investigations revealed no significant anomalies, except, and here's the surprising part, they all have a third nostril. I repeated my experiment on a woman and another man and found the same result. This is highly interesting. A few hours later, my garage looked like a scene from a horror movie. The insides were like those of any other human. I don't know what I expected, but I also don't know what to make of it. My thoughts are swirling and fuzzy. I can't quite grasp them. I'm going to open a can of ravioli and think more about today's findings. It's time to go to bed now since it's dark. However, it's not completely dark. The sky glows blue, green, and purple. The cloud cover, which has stretched to the horizon for days, doesn't clear up. Bodies keep falling. I was awakened by something incredible. I woke up in the middle of the night, floating in the air, along with my blanket, pillow, and everything else that wasn't nailed down. I was suspended motionless in the air. The phenomenon was accompanied by a dull electrical hum, like a microphone not properly connected. And then it was over, and I fell back onto the bed, breaking the bed frame. Now I sit at my desk surrounded by the shattered glass of my whiskey bottles, writing this down. I understand less and less of what is happening. Thursday. The humming keeps coming back. I measured a 1-hour interval between occurrences. Each time, the force that lifts objects into the air gets stronger, and the humming gets louder. I prepare for each episode by holding onto the stair railing, so I don't break my bones if I fall badly. The sound starts quietly, and at first the force isn't strong. I suspect a direct correlation between the volume and the resulting force. Each episode lasts at least 5 minutes and gets about 20 seconds longer each time. All signs indicate that the intervals between episodes are getting shorter. It's only a matter of my calculations to determine when exactly the pulses will never stop. Others might panic now, but according to my calculations, I have about 5 days until the critical point. Another pulse just went through the house. I could see through the window that not only my house is affected by this strange gravitational force. The bodies on the cow pasture are also lifting slightly. Their organs fall out of open gashes in their bellies and float around them like tentacles. My heavy mahogany desk is starting to lift, another indication that the pulses are getting stronger. I will run to the workshop between pulses and get tools to fasten it in place. The desk has become my sheltering cave. Now I crouch under it and scribble in this notebook. I doubt anyone will ever read this, but it helps me, so I write. During the pulses, I wedge my shoulders between the edges of the cutouts and lift just a few centimeters off the ground. I clutch the notebook and pen. This seems to work for now. I will try to get some sleep between pulses. I have fetched blankets and pillows which I stuff into all corners under the desk. This should allow me to sleep somewhat peacefully. Something just fell through the roof, right in front of the desk. I can't see it, it's too dark. I suspect the beams have finally given way and let one of the bodies from the roof through. It was incredibly loud, and I'm trembling. Adrenaline is finite, and I just have to wait until my body calms down. My mind longs for sleep. Friday. The first find of the sitting man was over a week ago. It's light outside again. At least a diffuse light is coming through the windows. I still wait for the next pulse, and then take a look at the body in front of the desk. I made an incredible discovery. The body had broken through the roof, landing on its stomach, sustaining some injuries in the process. Through the hole in the ceiling, I can look directly into the sky filled with colorful veils. In the distance, far above me, I see a house. It looks very familiar. It's surrounded by several cow pastures, a forest of fir trees, and there's a silver limousine in front of the door. I can't make out more details. I don't understand it, but it's my own house? Has a kind of mirror formed in the cloud? The roof of the house had no holes, and the car didn't seem damaged either. My intuition tells me I should examine the body more closely. Dear God, what sights I have seen. I'd put the pen aside and tucked the folded notebook into my pocket. Carefully, I approached the lifeless body. There was a sort of magical attraction emanating from the corpse. It almost glowed. It was as if a colorful, shimmering veil hovered over it. I patted the pockets of the corpse and pulled out a tattered notebook. The veil flowed right over to my hands, soon enveloping me completely. Even now it dances around my skin. According to all the known rules of physics, this should not be happening. I had to muster all courage to turn the man's body over. With one arm under the corpse's shoulder, I lifted the body first onto its side and then completely over. My suspicions were confirmed when I looked onto my own face. It was my own, except for the nose. Like in a mirror, with a small difference. I can hear the humming coming back. It is now a lot louder than before. And that was The Raining Man Diary by Funkhouse. It gives a whole new meaning to Hallelujah, It's Raining Men. Am I right? It's the first thing that came to mind about this. So this is interesting because just by the title alone, you're like, oh, okay, maybe it's like a creepy dude in the rain or something like that. Maybe it's a diary that's found because of a rainstorm or something. You know, you think it's about typical rain. But the fact that it gets so very interesting so very quickly. This diary, this notebook, it's so interesting. So through the notebook, the diary, whatever you want to call it, we learn that there's this freak phenomenon that seems to happen in Switzerland at the time. And it's incredibly random because it's a recent year. I mean, we're talking like just last year, around the time of my birthday. How about that? Really creepy stuff. And it starts with just, finding a body up a kind of like a hiking area. I wouldn't quite say a mountain, but something quite cold. And maybe, I suppose it's kind of a mountain, now that I take it back. And he finds quite a deformed-ish body. Not crazy deformed, but definitely looks, and he's definitely dead. Spine's in the wrong place and stuff. And you're like, oh my God, that's horrific. But I gotta admit, I wasn't expecting it to rain bodies. You know what I mean? And then the fact that we also learned that they've got a third nostril. Very strange. So my initial theories and stuff about that. Obviously, he's got some pretty good theories himself. It makes me wonder about parallel universes. There's other dimensions, multiverses, or whatever you want to talk about. I think that's a possibility. But then how, I suppose, because there's always these sci-fi stories of there's this little weird window in time where two of them connect and they can cross over for just a very small window opportunity. So that could be part of what's going on. I'm not sure why. Maybe the gravity's collapsed in one of them because of this, and so now that's why people are falling from the sky into the other place. But then not everything is falling. It's only specifically people. It's weird. It's very, very weird. But that's my current prevailing theory about that. It definitely makes it seem like there's some kind of extra force at play with the humming, the noises, the gravitational manipulation. Yeah. I don't know. I still think it's some kind of a parallel universe sort of a thing going on where they've got a little bit of overlap, like a weird little window. And that's my theory and understanding of it. But otherwise, the story is, it's got a lot of amazing detail, a lot of crazy, weird, horrific to it. And, can you imagine? We're not talking a couple of bodies. We're talking about days of bodies raining from the sky. That's horrific. That is, what would you do? What would anybody do? Even one body falling from the sky is horrific. But to have it happen like a rainstorm, it's so, God, it is a brilliant story. It is, oh, God, so creepy, so horrific. The more you think about it, just the worse it gets. It's so excellent, but it's not typical jump scary. Oh, there's a monster. This is just the horror of a weird science thing, right? It's just the horrors of some freak nature. We don't know. There could have been aliens manipulating stuff. That could be a possibility. I don't know. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. This has been Nate at Night, and I've had a great time. And I sure hope you have too. Let me know what you wanna. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories, your ideas about this. Give me your comments. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you think, because I think that was crazy. I think that was absolutely crazy. Oh, so good, so good. Let me know what you want to see next. Take care, guys. Thank you so much to my YouTube members and Patreon members for all the love and support. It's thanks to people like you that we can keep growing.